Hello, everyone. How's it going? This is Davis back here for the M3 Podcast. We talk about movies, games, TV shows, anime, a little bit of comics, that type of stuff. A lot of MCU stuff because I'm a fan of the MCU and anything comics, really, anything like that. But not always just comic stuff, but any type of movie, anything or show that's coming out. For example, normally I have myself and one other co-host. A couple episodes ago, I actually interviewed a writer, actor in Edmonton here, and we had a discussion about like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That was really fun. Then I went back to one of my main co-host Brandon, and we had an episode there. Now this time we're going back and actually and talking with a fellow podcaster. His name is Jesse Kim. He runs his own podcast as well on Discord, and then puts it out onto YouTube as well. He unfortunately is having issues with his camera, so it is going to be just me, but you'll still be able to hear us perfectly clear. So anyone that's listening on just audio pod platforms, it's going to be the same as usual anyway. But let's get into and introduce Jesse. How's it going, Jesse?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the first time I've actually managed to go on someone else's platform and just talk about the podcast and stuff with them. So, yeah, appreciate the opportunity you've given me here, man.
Awesome. Yeah, it was fun me going on to yours too. Like that was a really well debated. Like it actually structured quite well, and even with
really?
like what was it? How many? 4 or 5 of us, something like that.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So why don't you talk about what your podcast is about?
So, originally, it was during maybe a couple months, it was like already half a year at that point into the quarantine, and I was getting very bored with myself, and I've always wanted to kind of like start a podcast of my own, just kind of commentate, especially on just what it's like to. Actually, there's a lot of things I kind of wanted to touch on in my life, but I never really got to that point either because as I gradually added more people on, it kind of the focus of the podcast really constantly shifted. But anyways, yeah, it was just born out of boredom at the time, and it was to kind of play on the whole idea. I mean, it's called the Loneliest Podcast, so I was kind of hoping to talk about just kind of the whole city life and the irony of sense of isolation and feeling lonely despite living in a city surrounded by people.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of like an idea at the time, but never really got to explore that whole idea because loneliness has been a large part of my life. But as it grew, I think at the time, at least as it grew, we just kept adding more people on.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people have come and gone because, it's just
different reasons, different life reasons, and everything kind of just happens, right?
Yeah.
Well, at least like even without talking about certain specific things, you're still able to kind of have conversations with people, and you have different perspectives and hear different things and on different people's opinions and stuff, right? So even just like the one you did with me, you wanted to really go deep into like kind of the film industry and stuff like that, and script writing and stuff, and you learned some new things. So at least, even though it's not like loneliness, because being with people, but at least you have the environment of talking with someone and interacting and stuff all the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to also shift towards just being like the one person host, kind of just talking and doing a lot of editing on one specific subject of mine, doing some proper research on something, but never. I think it'd definitely be interesting to try someday.
Well, I'll try to help you out if I can.
Thanks, man.
Sounds good. So yeah, to go into this episode. So basically, for those of you who don't know, like I said at the beginning, talking about movies, games, TV shows, anything kind of media related. Sorry.
No, I'm just agreeing with what you're saying.
Okay, yeah. So there's been quite a few things, and I was so mad because I had more topics I wanted to talk about, but I didn't have my notebook at the time, so I forgot what they were. I only remembered 3 of the things that I wanted to talk about. First being the fact that Brooklyn Nine-Nine is filming its new season. It's the final season, so that's kind of good and bad because all good things have to come to an end. But I love that show. I think there's definitely, just like any show, everything has kind of been ups and downs. Some seasons are better than others, but I think we're like this being the final season, maybe it'll be. I don't know. I kind of see well, we'll see how it goes. Maybe it'll be good, but
Yeah.
then I had so in the not the last episode, but the last episode before I did with Dallas, him and I was supposedly there was the Eternals, Marvel Eternals trailer. So, but that didn't end up
Oh, I've
working
heard of
out.
that. Yeah.
It was just like a teaser thing at the time. But now there's the official actual trailer that came out, so I wanted to kind of watch that and get our opinions and get what talk about that, and then
Yeah.
yeah, and then for me, for the topics I had on mine was because I grew up watching Friends as long as like a lot of people did. I kind of grew up slash watching like the reruns because it ended in '04, but it's been going on like forever, especially when it was on Netflix as well. So they had the Friends reunion recently, and I watched that. So
Yeah.
that was it was pretty good, but it still seemed like the couple times it was like they were being a little fake. I think, but
Oh.
so I don't know if you ever really watched Friends, but we can maybe discuss that a little bit here and there. Um,
Yeah.
was there any things that you wanted to talk about specifically? Any shows or movies or anything that you watched?
Well, I could just kind of ramble about opinions regarding that what you've already proposed, like films wise. Like, I am quite curious about. Okay, so anyways, but yeah, I've heard that I think I've watched the one of the trailers for Eternals, but and you want to watch one of them soon?
Yeah. So I here
Yeah.
what I'll do here is I will minimize this screen. Do do do.
And I've seen I think at least 2 seasons of Brooklyn Nine-Nine,
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, and I am familiar with Friends. I think I've mostly just come around to watching scenes on YouTube.
Okay. So at least you know some of the cliches. At least
Yeah, so
that's good.
oh, I thought this was. I didn't realize this was in the modern times. I thought it was taking all in place in the past.
Yeah. So okay. That was the first time I've ever watched the any trailers or anything regarding it, other than that the one little snippet that they did like a
Yeah,
week ago or whatever.
yeah.
I guess it's been a little bit while after that. But first of all, do you know who like the Eternals are?
No, I don't know.
So basic. I'm not a huge actual comic like the actual comic books fan, but I do know like the any basically movies and cartoons and stuff like that, the other mediums. So I follow other things, but my
Yeah.
understanding basically is that they are um, beings that have been around basically since the start of mankind, essentially, and they are the children, I do believe, of the what is it called? The not the eternal. No, the there's it's gonna bug me, but you know. So have you seen the Guardians of the Galaxy, the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie?
Yeah, yeah.
So you know the giant skull, like
All
nowhere.
those, yeah,
Yeah,
those guys. I
yeah,
thought the
yeah.
Eternals sounded familiar.
Yeah,
So,
so they're like the parents of the Eternals, basically. So they're like
okay.
beings that have been around since the start of time, and I think essentially this might start leading into the MCU version of the X Men, because like
Oh,
because there's like humans and then there's other genes and stuff. That's the other theories that's going on kind of online a little bit right now of it, is that it
yeah,
might finally get into that.
yeah,
But yeah, basically they're like Eternals because they've been around literally forever. They don't age or anything like that. And as you saw in the trailer, they are kind of like started humanity on the face of discovery type thing.
yeah.
But so what I'm definitely curious about with this is what because it even said like we haven't interfered with anything until now. So what is the until now? Is it going to be like the snap from Infinity War, or like that's definitely the big curiosity question in the room.
Right. I don't know if this ties in with like they're supposed to introduce another character who's just as powerful as Thanos or something. The Asian guy. Maybe I didn't. Maybe he somehow ties into this film, but I don't know if you heard of him.
What?
Um. Oh. Oh. Like.
Like Thanos is supposed to be like one of like a version of the Eternals or something like that. Celestials. That's who I was thinking of. Jesus, the Celestials. But Thanos is like
Okay.
the mutated version. Like he's a mutant, but like of Eternals, essentially.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I think that's. But I don't know who an Asian. What the only Asian guy is Shang-Chi from the other movie that I know of. Also, like that's recent right now at least.
Yeah, I think that's the guy I'm thinking of.
Yeah, because that's the no, that's another Marvel movie that's coming out. It's just
Okay, mix him up. Okay.
yeah. It's not related in any way to my knowledge, but every Marvel movie is related in some way. So
Yeah.
yeah. But no, yeah, on your point that um, on the fact that they are literally from all time until all the way to modern era. So
Yeah.
uh,
What's always bugged me about like the MCU universe, I'm pretty sure the X-Men are within MCU, right? Yeah, they are. Like they never really run into each other, even though they all live in the same world. And like there's these cataclysmic world-ending events happening. You'd think some of the X-Men would kind of jump in and
well, that's because
but
for the longest time,
because of copyright
Marvel,
issues.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
But it's
like,
just
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I just thought even like to the point in Deadpool, they kind of break the fourth wall and pointing out like when they visit the large mansion, I think Ryan Reynolds points out like why there's only those two X-Men characters
Hmm.
because they can only afford to have those two minor characters I'd never even heard of before the film came around. So it's just we're just limited by these annoying things.
Yeah, exactly. Real life issue.
Yeah.
Well, did you hear about the like? This was years ago now. This is when Civil War was first coming out. The whole thing with getting Spider-Man even at all.
Oh yeah, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that Disney freaking said screw it, I'm just buying everything. They're finally just putting everyone
Yeah.
in.
Hope to
Other
get
than
that one film.
yeah,
Yeah.
what was the first thing that with this trailer? What was the first thing that kind of caught your attention?
It's just yeah, there's a sense of mystery of like who these Eternals are. They seem like all technologically advanced. At the beginning scene, they had their spaceship, that super squarish triangle looking thing,
Yeah.
just slowly appearing in the horizon. Just it's like I always get like enthralled by the world building
Hmm.
because 'cause there's all that whole icebergs like behind the scenes details that they only tease at as well. They don't want to bore you with excessive exposition, but I just, but overall, yeah, I just thought actually I was a bit misled. Originally, I thought this was a Marvel movie taking place in like the older times. I didn't realize it would be actually taking place right after the death of Captain Rogers. Was it?
Captain
Right,
America.
or Captain America, right? He died of old age with this whole weird time traveling thing.
Hmm.
I guess, or maybe he's still around, just old now. And right, the death of Tony Stark. So that was just a pleasant surprise. So we might I'm hoping to see some of the original cast members from the previous Marvel films. What was the one with the Thanos? That was like
Endgame, Infinity War, and
Endgame,
Endgame.
right? Endgame.
Yeah.
I remember.
I think if
Oh,
anything, it will have maybe like a cameo or something at the end of like maybe Doctor Strange or someone kind of just showing up a little bit like around the
mm,
end because this doesn't seem like it's gonna be like it's not an Avengers movie, right? So it's still
yeah,
it's as if it's one of the like individual characters like Thor, or Iron Man, or Captain America, but it's a
yeah,
group like Guardians of the Galaxy, I guess.
yeah. Right. I'm also curious what happened to those guys. There's just always these open endings I'm curious about.
And that's how they get your money by answering those
Yeah,
questions in the next movie.
exactly. It's all about making promises. That's what I learned about from story writing. You're giving promises that you're constantly delivering on satisfyingly to the audience.
Hmm.
Kind of just egg them on to consuming your content or something.
Yeah, the little nuggets here and there. You'll answer one question, but that answer will open up other questions to
Yeah,
make them want to continue reading or listening or watching, whatever the
yeah,
medium may be.
man. I gotta learn how to do this myself because I really want to get into this whole script writing business thing. You know, just I mean, not actually sell scripts of my own, but I just want to learn to construct them and like learn to create great stories and worlds for me to animate or something. I don't know,
Hmm.
but right
Yeah.
with the oh sorry.
Oh no. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I just was saying yeah.
Yeah, but the MCU, like, plus, like, they got the whole alternative timeline thing with Loki. So we all, at one point, I thought he was dead, and they brought him back, and they
Hmm.
got the alternative timeline Gamora. So even though the Robert Downey Jr.'s contract is over, maybe if they'll renew it somehow and bring him back for cameo appearances or something. I don't know. They'll somehow bring back Iron Man. which would be pretty sick to see.
I could see it. Yeah, I don't know that I could almost see it, but I'm almost not at the same time because I could see like um, Disney would probably want him to do it, but I don't think Robert Downey Jr. himself would.
Yeah,
Like I
I
think
guess
he got
that's
tired of
the
the
point
role.
that that was like the movie's end was a send off for his character,
Hmm.
and they wanted to put an end to it, but still, who knows?
If there's enough money behind it, I'm sure it would work.
Yeah,
Everything's motivated by money.
exactly, man. So just
So one thing I always try to do with one of these here is what is since this one is something let let's go. What are two good things that you found about this trailer, and what are two bad things you thought about it?
okay. Well, maybe I could start with some of the things that already bug me. I just kind of suddenly know. It's just I'm kind of like I've seen enough MCU films to the point where it's kind of repetitive. But then again, that's the whole point of it. It's going to be repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and I just, since I have no familiarity with these characters, I just kind of feel a sense of like, I don't know, who are these guys? I just kind of, I
Don't
almost don't
care.
care as much. Yeah, not really invested in them because they're just, it's like this is an entire different start with completely different characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that kind of would be two things starting off that I don't really like too much. Something I like, yeah, I guess the potential for what this might mean for the MCU universe. Yeah, that's definitely what I would like about that. Seeing some old members, as I mentioned. What else do I like? I don't know. It's just action films. Just find it fascinating.
A good action film.
If that's hopefully that's
Yeah.
something to start with.
No, fair enough. So I would say the biggest kind of thing for me, like biggest like yes, is the fact that Kit Harington's in it, and
Okay.
he's coming from playing Jon Snow from Game of Thrones. So he's
Oh,
as a role from he's playing Black Knight, I think it's called. Basically, uh, Marvel, kind of like Marvel's version of like kind of like a scout. Yeah, he has a sword similar to like Excalibur, basically,
yeah.
where like only one who's worthy enough can wield it. Has the same like principle almost as like Thor's hammer, basically. So I'm gonna interested to
Oh,
see
wow.
how he's going to get into the MCU and how his role is going to um, work out.
Yeah.
And then the other thing would I was definitely interested is I like the ending of the trailer there where it was almost like the like Fast and Furious where it's like ending with a meal and it's a family thing and it's so you can see
Yeah.
like the kind of the love hate relationship that like any family members all have, so it looks like it's kind of actually kind of real a little bit, so it looks like the people are kind of like known a little like not known, they're actually like more realistic,
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
definitely better. um and then kind of did what I didn't like. Um, yeah, I'm definitely. I'm definitely gonna agree with you with the not knowing anything about them type thing. Because
Yeah.
unlike because it was the same issue with like Guardians of the Galaxy. Because people were like, "Who the hell are that?" But I think there was more intrigue with the Guardians because of characters like Rocket and Groot. Because it was like, okay, these guys are like, who are they?
Yeah.
But then you want to actually know who they are compared to Eternals that are just names that comic people know, and I only heard about
Yeah.
them basically
More
like
fascinating. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
and then I don't know like the graphic I guess I'm kind of thinking of a good slash bad thing. It could be either or interpreted in either ways. Not knowing what the villain actually is, like who are they fighting, like
Oh.
why what's going on? Is it just
Yeah.
gonna be some random like war that's going on, or is it because of the snap from Endgame? Or yeah, I don't know. It's gonna
Oh.
be
Yeah.
it's very like open ended, which is kind of a
Yeah.
good slash bad thing because it makes you want to go into you don't have too much spoilers right from the get go, which trailers tend to do sometimes.
Yeah. That's what they're supposed to do. They're not supposed to reveal too much. Like
Yeah.
it like yeah, kind of like irritates me when I don't get why they still do this. They reveal the whole like the midpoints, the main important plot points in the teaser,
Mm-hmm.
in the trailer. I mean, but maybe it's a marketing tactic. Maybe it boosts sales for some reason when people know the entire plot. But I would assume that discourage you to even go watch the film.
Well, one thing that they did, but they did ended up being they did kind of badly was when they had the Mandarin for Iron Man 3. So many people were like,
Oh,
"Oh, he's a good villain. Everyone's so hyped," and then they did like a flip, like a wraparound or whatever. It was like,
oh, right, right.
yeah, and then it ended up being a bad. It was like, oh, it was, I get they're like, oh, let's introduce the villain, who he is, and oh, everyone's gonna be hyped for the villain, and then it ends up being a complete bullshit part of the story.
Yeah.
So it can kind of be good, but that's the same thing that's kind of like happening with like. But then there's like the other that's been on hiatus for like a year, the Black Widow movie. Like
Oh, right, yeah.
they
Yeah.
had the trailer for so long, and they introduced like Taskmaster and everything, but it's just
Mm.
yeah, it's gonna be just such a bland movie. Like if it even goes even to Disney Plus, I have a feeling they're gonna lose so much money with Black Widow.
Yeah. It's really hard for films like pull off like twists to like going back to the Mandarin, like just like especially recently looking, maybe that's not too recent, like looking at Star Wars and the amount of like double twists they put in the film, just constantly, like there are only they did it for the sake of misleading the audience, which wasn't just a bit necessary, but I don't know, it's not easy for these guys to make these things.
Mm-hmm.
How Yeah, I wonder how the writers get around these, like especially nowadays, like the audiences are more, I feel like our standards have been really raised too. Like we're just harder to please as an audience. Plus, we become more, I don't know, educated in a way, or maybe not so. I don't know. So I
Well,
do want that
yeah,
in that time.
because of things like YouTube, where there's so many channels where it's like,
Oh
let me break down this, let me go into this finite detail and stuff like that. Like, um, WandaVision, for example, there's things of, oh, that's what this detail means, that's what this detail means, blah blah blah,
yeah, yeah,
and it's like the average viewer either didn't notice or didn't care, but when you
yeah,
even if you watch those type of things, it's like, oh, that makes you think a little bit more. Therefore, you make it see you think a little bit more when the next movie comes out, especially
yeah,
something
yeah,
like Marvel, where all their movies are in some way connected.
yeah.
Like
Like I
how?
don't know if you've heard of this, but apparently one of the Star Wars films actually the writer, the director, he was complaining. He even admitted like there's certain video essay YouTube channels that they're heavy into like predicting the plot line, which like kind of like forced him to just come up with this weird haywire of a plot line for the Star Wars script. I think he actually specifically referred to like is it the Game Theory channel?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you heard
Or
this,
film
but
theory.
yeah. Yeah, like the whole YouTube culture, video essays are actually having an impact on how these movies are turning out as well, which is, I don't know
Kind
if that's a good thing. I don't know if they actually really helped. Maybe the impact was more negative than positive with what, because countless opinions are coming in. Everyone's trying to guess the plot, before films even come out, and this might put further pressure on script writers or whoever is involved with story writing.
Yeah,
So
exactly. No, no, I think that's definitely a really good point because, like, um, yeah, exactly. People like Matt Patch or new rock stars or whoever that do like details and stuff like that. They,
yeah,
yeah, because Eric Voss from New Rockstars literally says like, spoiler warning if any of what I say is true, because so like things like that will come out and then they're they go and then so yeah, it makes I think it's like kind of a good thing because it makes writers kind of like not just copy and paste the same thing over and over again. So,
yeah,
but then sometimes where you have a formula that works and everyone goes sees it, everyone likes it, and then it's like, oh no, everyone's predicting it, and then they try to change it too much, and then it just makes the whole movie garbage, and then they end up not doing well anyway,
yeah.
right? So again, yeah, again, it's kind of like good and bad, I think.
Real double-edged sword. Yeah.
Hmm. But that's probably, yeah, like Marvel related. Have you ever really watched? You said a little bit. You watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine a little bit, or have you?
Oh yeah, that was a while by now, but I think I could remember a couple episodes. I'd have to kind of look it up though. But
Or well, because I was just gonna say because I was a big fan. I've watched the the entire series a couple times. I think two or three times now because it's on Netflix. So
okay,
I've watched it from start to finish.
You're a big fan. All right.
Well, not the biggest fan, but enough to have it as like a regular sitcom, right?
Yeah.
So, um, and there's been a couple times where it's already they weren't sure if they were going to renew because there was an episode where Holt was going to see if he was going to get his next promotion to be commissioner or something. I think it was, and it ended with the season ended with him getting the news, and then that was where it was going to be a series final with that, and it was just going to be a cliffhanger final. But then they got renewed there because there was I don't know if you heard about the whole conundrum where they got canceled and then got picked back up like the next day.
I heard about online, the internet outlash, whatever the heck. The fans were pretty upset about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With that, yeah, because it was that and Lucifer.
Oh, okay, right. The other show, which I never really saw that.
Oh, that's another pretty good show. That was another show that has a big fan base that had same thing that happened. It got canceled, but then that one got picked up by Netflix, which actually ended up being a better thing because it brought a higher budget towards it, so it brought it down to 10 episodes instead of like 25. So you have a shit ton of filler episodes. But yeah, so now I saw that they are filming and going to be releasing this fall. I want to say either that, I think the fall is when Brooklyn Nine-Nine comes out. So it's going to start the final season of that show. What type of stuff do you remember from that at all?
I guess, well, at the time when I was watching it, I wasn't really thinking about how, right, from the writer's perspective, but I just actually in shows in general, I've really learned to appreciate like there's more, they have more room for like doing more things with the writing because a movie you're set with like a at most 2 hour time frame. Typically movies are like what, 90 minutes?
90 to 9 minutes to 2 hours, 2.5 sometimes.
Yeah. So with like sitcoms, even like they have all the time they want to just draw out these character arcs and just like to really dive into the character development and stuff. Which is I'm trying to remember if I could remember some points from the show. Oh man, it's been a while.
well, the fucking early season. You said you watched season like maybe one or two.
Yeah. Well, okay, here's what I know. It's like they actually early on within the TV show they made the two main characters actually start right off the bat. They kind of got together pretty fast. I know most shows tend to draw this out as they make this a romantic promise to the audience to get them invested. They'll even draw in like a third character to create this love triangle or something. But unlike how most shows typically do it, they kind of like delivered on that right on the spot. Actually, I don't know how fast it was, but
in a way, yeah, because they had I think they wanted to have more of like a struggle between them because Jake and Amy they started off with them being rivals. And that's how the whole first season goes. It's their rivalry, and then I think it's either the end of that season or second season where they actually I think it's the end of that season where the rivalry ends and they have their like cheap date that Jake has that goes on as like the bet, and that's where it's and then Jake like realizes that he actually has feelings for her in that like kind of during that date type thing.
It took a whole season to draw that out.
So
it wasn't that. Okay.
So yeah, there's a whole like, and it just starts off as like I kind of like her, and then they start officially dating. I think like season 2 or 3, and then then they go out and blah blah. There's some relationship stuff, and there's a whole other thing, and it's a whole other stuff. But and then they get married at the end of I think it's 6th season, something like that, and then the next season after that is more where it really goes off the end of it being like a show about police drama and ends up really being about them because it's the like the whole first half of the season is just their honeymoon.
Okay, it has been too long. I should have. I wish I'd realized we would be discussing this. I could have tried to refurbish my knowledge of this, but what I appreciate, but I don't know like how you watch shows, because you coming from more of a director's perspective, but Like, do you find yourself keeping track of the number of subplots going on, whether they even get to the point where they have like a subplot C or something, or like even trying to keep track of like how many problems they present throughout the single episode as they continue to resolve the problem, or like I don't know, like how do you typically watch a movie or show?
It honestly depends on the show. If it's a show I'm majorly invested in, I'll use Game of Thrones for example, because that was the show I was
Okay.
really following for the show. I was
Yeah.
just in like definitely invested in and just into the story, into the characters, and the arc, and just watching it as a show. Because there were a lot of people, like for example,
Oh
in
yeah, man.
the final season, there was flaws that came out, like water bottles on set that made it into the show and stuff
Oh
like that.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So you could definitely tell that they like the showrunners were like losing they kind of that a lot of people are saying that they like lost their edge, like they stopped kind of caring a little bit.
Yeah.
So it affected the show, but I was still kind of invested in the characters a little bit, enough to like still be willing to watch it. But
Yeah.
then a show like, I don't know, How I Met Your Mother, for example, a little bit, that'd be a little bit, it'd be like, oh, did they like forget, like for example, I think like for the very first episode, the first season of How I Met Your Mother, they mentioned that Robin has like 7 dogs, and then like she's never in her apartment, like you never see them, like you only see her dogs like once or twice the entire series. And
Oh
then I
yeah.
think but then they kind of just do a throwaway line of like, oh, she got rid of them or something like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've definitely noticed things like that where it's like, okay, like it's
Yeah.
it makes sense,
More
but like it's
writing.
just just such a throwaway thing sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it all depends on the show or movie, or yeah, if I'm fully invested into it, or if I'm looking at it, because yeah, like I've said during on your podcast, sometimes I have two brains sometimes where I'm listening to it in a just viewer's perspective, and sometimes I'm watching it as the wanting to know more perspective of how things
Yeah.
get made
Yeah.
or notice things. Yeah.
Or maybe you also kind of watch for like the camera angles they're using, the lighting or something.
Not necessarily the lighting, but I do notice the camera angles sometimes when they like. There's been a couple times when they do like two people talking conversation, and then they go back and forth, and it's just super
Yeah.
noticeable. It's super annoying.
Yeah. Especially when they have too many jump cuts, like it's fighting scenes. Oh man, they will be countless cuts sometimes.
Yeah.
Like the
Have you ever seen
man,
the clip from Taken 3? I think it is.
Taken. I've seen Taken 3, I think, but I wouldn't. I have a hard time remembering films like that.
There's a scene with the main
The mom
character.
and daughter are kidnapped, right?
I don't know. I haven't seen any of the movies. I just know the clip. That's
Okay.
but Liam Neeson is like jumping over this fence, and it's like 10 different angles and cuts of him trying to jump over this fence. It's like him jumping up, and then a different angle of him kind of like putting his knee up, and then a slightly different angle of
Yeah.
him putting his foot up, and then a slightly different of his face kind of like as he lunges, and it's like it's literally just a shit. Like if you
Yeah.
I'm sure if you Google it, you'll see what I mean.
Okay,
It's
I'll have to
really
look it
funny.
up.
Yeah, it's funny. It's so bad. There's so many like take cut. Yeah, in
Yeah, I
comparison.
don't know what goes on in the editing room, but you get these over editing things. It just, especially with action scenes, action films, I feel like they're kind of guilty of the over editing.
That's
Just
more of a on
ridiculous.
set decision than a editing decision, because a lot of the
Okay.
times it's more of a you work with the footage you have. Because
Yeah.
sometimes like they're filming and they have so many different camera angles, and then you look, oh, and
Yeah.
all that footage, you have a light stand in the background, so you can't use that clip, so you have to use all these clips repeatedly or something like that, for example.
Yeah. Like, man, I didn't know that like films typically have way more than, well, I just never really stopped to think about it, but like typically they're 90 minutes long, but the amount of footage they actually produce to make this is like hours upon hours of footage for these
Yeah.
films.
Well,
I,
especially with digital, it was so like it would have been more ridiculous back in the day with film.
oh man, they probably have reels upon reels or something. I don't know, but just the final product we get to see in the theaters, like this thing has been, it went through a process, man. It's just interesting to think about.
Well, yeah, that's well. If you take a typical conversation, I'll say. So if we were sitting in a room, sitting at a table, and there's me sitting on one side of the table, you sitting on the other side of the table, and we're playing a game of cards.
Yeah.
There's probably one, two, three, minimum three camera angles, potentially four or five, because you would have over the shoulder of me looking at you, over the
Yeah.
shoulder of you looking at me,
Yeah.
a wide of both of us from the side, so you would see the side peripheral of both of us. So that's to cut to again, and then
Yeah.
potentially another camera or just another like zoom in shot of seeing like my hand and then seeing your hand, right? If it,
Yeah.
for example, so you don't, it's and then it's the editor to decide like, okay, so you're deciding, so look at your face because you're the one deciding what card to play, and like, and if you actually have that many cameras to do it, either that, or if you're doing it only with two cameras, then it takes even longer because you have to get all those same shots, so the editor has much footage to choose from compared to only, and but it takes even longer to
Yeah.
do it. Yeah.
And yeah, speaking of that example, yeah, I was learning a bit about the basics of like filming. Like they use these 180 rules or something,
Mm-hmm.
180 rules, the 30-degree angle, and like I was like they do this for like a majority of dialogue scenes actually, especially when they're sitting across or standing across from each other. Like just it's interesting to take note, and they're doing like the whole J and L cuts. I didn't realize how often the character that we're looking at isn't even talking.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just do the guy's dialogue over his scene. It's like I don't know. It's just very interesting to appreciate and look at for.
Yeah, and when you start kind of like learning about this stuff, even if just what you're doing, kind of reading a couple books or watching YouTube about it or whatever, you'll start to
Yeah.
notice it more, right? And
Yeah.
that's the reason why I'm trying to get into that as my profession, because I noticed that type of stuff when I was younger, when I was like 13,
This is
14,
like
15.
this is old news for you.
Well,
I'm kind of just now getting into this.
well, no, which is I never, like, I am still kind of just getting into it in a way technically, but I've always noticed it, and
Yeah.
but that's why I wanted to kind of go into it more.
Yeah. It's just fun.
But
Do you feel like it kind of ruins the experience when you're like over analyzing these films and you're not you find it harder for yourself to get immersed in the storytelling?
I've noticed that people don't like watching movies with me sometimes.
Oh yeah.
There was literally my like first week of living in the new place I'm in now. I think first or second week we were watching the Mortal Kombat movie, and and I was like, oh, okay, I need to pause it here. You need to just look at this little detail, and like he was like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
like because he knows that that's the type of person I am, the friend that I live with, and he was like, yeah, well, no, yeah, I get it, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And like, and he was like, he was fine with me saying it or whatever, but it was like, I was like, okay, I'm sorry, but I just kind of have to do this, or else it's just gonna be running in my brain forever.
Yeah. It is tempting to just stop and appreciate, since like kind of like how it works now. Just like I almost want to like it's illegal to do this, but I want to like record footage so I can like have my own little archive somehow. Or maybe to some extent there's some laws around this. I guess for personal use it's legal to record some things. I don't know.
I think as long as you're not distributing and selling it, I think you just to get like footage and just to kind of like look to see like when they do like to learn about like the when they're using J cuts and L cuts and stuff like that, just by watching it visually, I'm sure there's no issue with anything like that to learn about it.
Especially seeing how they're like the editors, they're combining them too. Like you get crazy scenes sometimes.
Yeah,
These different cuts.
one thing I've definitely noticed. So I watch a show called Forged in Fire, and
Okay.
they do like weapons tests and stuff like that. And the big thing that they always do, they do like a flickering light effect, and it's like a slow mo like kind of flicker, and it's like a really fast like every time they're about to hit an animal or a carcass. It's not an actual live animal, but just and I keep on looking at it, and I'm like, okay, so I wonder how. Okay, I can think of how they might have done it, but I'm not sure on how they did that edit. And then there's like another episode where that like strobing effect is in it, but not as much. And I'm like, okay, that I don't think it's the same editor. I think they have a different editor for different episodes because it's edit. Like when watching that show, I'm like, They don't use it as much. It's not slow mo. This like because some episodes they use more slow motion. Some episodes they use more of that flicker effect. I'm like, I think they have more than one editor for this show.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that's a
things
good
like
point.
that. It's sometimes.
Yeah, man. I actually bought a book by this famous editor. I think what was his name, Paul Hirsch or something. Maybe you've heard of him. Let me look this up real quick. Yeah, Paul Hirsch. The book's called A Long, Long Time Ago in a Cutting Room Far, Far Away.
Okay.
Or I guess you haven't heard of him, but yeah, he kind of worked on Star Wars and some famous films like Carrie or something. This
Mm-hmm.
is I don't know. This is very interesting. I'm trying to also learn as much as I can about editing because I myself want to start making my own footage with 3D work, and then I had to start learning how to implement some of these techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what's another film he did? I was trying to go through the book and see if he like gives any like practical advice, but it turns out to be more just a memoir of his works. But still very interesting to read.
Do
But
you
yeah, you should check it out.
do you know what I noticed from like modern day? Best way to do it is look up like cinecom.net like or Peter McKinnon or like look up just go into YouTube and look up editing tricks or good or stuff like that and find the top
Huh.
like five like editor like results.
Yeah.
Watch a bunch of those. That's the like because then it will show you like what the tools are for on each pro like as long as you have like use like Premiere for example if you have it then but either way even if you use a free software like Shotcut it's still
Yeah,
gonna
that's what I
be yeah Shotcut is
got.
it's actually a really good one for a free video editor it can't handle
Yeah.
really high end footage but it has
You get
green
yeah.
screen key it has
Oh, yeah.
multiple layers it has audio like
Yeah.
yeah so for a free editor it works really well and it's a really good thing to learn on
Yeah.
and it doesn't have like a watermark like a lot of free editors so yeah if you just go into YouTube and search fast editing tips and then go for Shotcut or something like that you'll probably still get pages of results for that and it's a
Yeah.
really good way to learn that's how I'm learning Premiere and DaVinci like because I'm learning both programs at once right now well I
Yeah.
already technically know how to use them but I'm learning better techniques, faster ways.
Right. I heard Resolve's pretty good for compositing. I was trying to learn a bit about compositing with like the nodes on the Blender end. I mean, you could do a lot of stuff with it, but I guess it's better to kind of like use a dedicated software for that, such as Resolve or
Yeah.
like what was it called, Nuke or something. I don't know, but yeah, I gotta refurbish them. And also, you're right about the whole YouTube thing. Like the most practical, useful information I've been learning is just straight off of YouTube tutorials.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like going for the first few results.
Yeah, and some of them even have like a Google Drive link that you can like download the exact same footage from them, so you could literally just
Oh, really?
save that footage. Yeah, I don't remember his name, but I think his name it's I would have to look for it, but I think his name's like Jesse or something like that. But he has a tutorial on YouTube, and he has generic footage that you can go and download that footage, and you can edit it the exact same way that he does, or you can kind of do whatever you want with it, and just to learn. And
Oh,
it's like a
all right.
minute and a half of footage or something like that. I think it is for Shotcut if I remember
I gotta
correctly.
look this guy up. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. I'd love to check him out.
I'll refind it and I'll send you the link.
Yeah. Sorry, I got a bit off topic with what I was going at. So you were originally talking about Brooklyn Nine-Nine or something, or
Oh, whatever. This is always fun. I just wanted it as like a kind of generic topic. It doesn't. I like talking about this stuff
oh,
and
okay, okay, good,
yeah,
okay.
going just kind of going with the flow. If you have questions for me, whatever. It's always fun. I like I said, I just had those as kind of like generic kind of things to kind of wrap the conversation around, basically. And
Yeah,
then, but since
and all,
you're wondering, I don't care. I don't mind asking answering some questions.
yeah, like it's your show, why not? So just checking. But also maybe later if we have time, we could, or even afterwards. I'm always down to talk about stocks. That's also kind of a passion of mine. Like
I do need to learn more about that. I have that I
I'm kind of
am.
curious about what you. Yeah,
We'll talk about that later.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
Sounds good.
So
Well, okay. So then to bring it back into the conversation of the M3 part, then
yeah,
so still another sitcom older, but Friends. They had their the reunion show just the other day, and
yeah.
I was always a friend. Not a like again, not a huge fan of it, but I definitely, if I'm thinking correctly, I'm pretty sure I've seen every episode, all 10 seasons, and everything like that.
Oh wow,
But
that's a
well,
bit.
because it's 1994 to 2004, and is when it ran, and I was born in 92, so I definitely wasn't old enough
Yeah.
to watch it when it was like in the early 90s, but I definitely watched a little bit as a kid with my parents. But throughout the
Yeah.
early 2000s, like 2000, so 2005 to say 2012, for example, they constantly ran reruns, and hell, I think to this day they run reruns on channels and stuff like that, and for a
Yeah.
while it was on Netflix in Canada too. So like a
Yeah.
lot of people have watched it. Um, have you ever? Did you watch any of that show at all, or?
But uh, not really. But I really appreciate what this show kind of is like. Just it set a standard for all sitcoms that were to come and to continue coming. Like this show is like Jerry Seinfeld. Like this dude is a legend. Like he's a legend to me. He's also I don't know if you've seen some of his stand up.
You're confusing shows here, my guy.
Wait, whoa, what the am I?
You're confusing Seinfeld with Friends.
All right, wait, I'm pretty sure he was. Whoa, what the heck? Yeah.
Seinfeld and Friends are completely different shows.
Okay, well, never mind then. Forget what I said about Jerry Seinfeld. But I
Well,
uh
continue your point. Let's see if you can bring it back. Let's see.
yeah. No. I'll just I don't know. Have you heard of any of his stand up or do
Yeah.
you watch any comedy?
Oh, of course. It's been a while since I've watched anything Jerry Seinfeld, but well, except for comedians in cars getting coffee.
Oh, you see? Okay, I've seen. Maybe you heard Bill Burr.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Bill Burr's.
I haven't heard Bill Burr.
Well, because his show F is for Family on Netflix.
Yeah. Like oddly enough, it's like trying to study comedy and comics. This is what actually eventually led me to learning about writing and script writing. It's a weird transition, but I was like, not now, but at one point I kind of wanted to learn how to do stand up, which I'm glad I did.
Me too.
That's you did? Wow, yeah.
No, well, I did a little bit improv, and that's it.
Oh yeah, it takes balls to be like a stand up. Like you're constantly being kept humble too. Like people will just, man, people are vicious. And you just it's a whole nother breed to be willing to do that. But yeah, so like kind of from that angle, like Jerry Seinfeld, he's just like he managed to make an entire show about nothing. Well, and that's an overstatement, but it's just this ability to just talk about like make a joke out of ketchup, something so mundane, and his comedy is so clean. It's like there's no swearing. To be very I don't know. I'm almost like marveling at it, just how he managed to pull this off. Like he definitely was, like he set a standard for his industry, sure. But I don't know if that.
No, I'm trying to think because, like, well, he was really popular in the 90s, and then yeah, he made his show up literally about nothing, about just conversations with his couple of friends and everything like that, and just living in New York and seeing the same people and kind of trying to get through life, and that get through life is what his stand up's about.
Yeah.
But with his
when
crazy
it comes
voice.
like modern storytelling, like there's the amount of writing that goes in to tell these grandiose stories and these plot lines. And here's this guy with his show that ran for how many seasons? Just yeah, like
Seinfeld.
Wait, maybe it was actually a lot shorter than I expected.
I think it was only like 5 or 6.
Oh yeah, still though, that's not too bad for a show.
Of course, some shows only get like don't even get past their first season. Like I think the statistic is like 80% of shows only don't even get past their pilot.
Yeah. I don't know, like how do you pull that off? But let's find that.
I think something like that. Maybe I'm just spitballing, speculating here, but I think it might be easier in the 80s and 90s compared to now, because of going back to like what you said earlier about how audiences we know more, we expect the same things. So back then, just doing something like that compared to say Magnum PI, that was a show that was in the 80s, and it was just it did that rinse and repeat, like the new here's him, here's the bad guy, oh here's who I think it is, oh it's not him, here's who
Yeah,
it actually is, rinse and repeat series. So
yeah,
then going into like something like Seinfeld, it was because of that that pitch of it's a show about nothing was why it was so like groundbreaking at the time. Um, but if you did something like that today, I don't think people
yeah,
have the attention span because of YouTube and TikTok and Vine and Instagram Reels. Like everything's like so
yeah,
quick, like snaps, like so. Just having a show about people sitting and talking about, uh, yeah, like the crumbs, like what happens to the like crumbs off of a bun or whatever the hell it's about.
yeah.
It even though it's not just a conversation, but it's I don't think it would have worked as well nowadays compared to what it was back then.
Yeah, I guess it was just at the right place and right time for when it came around. But hmm.
That's
And
funny
then
that you thought I was talking about Seinfeld when I was talking about Friends.
yeah, that's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, they both were iconic shows of the '90s. So,
Can't believe I mixed that up. Oh man,
but
sorry about that.
have you seen Friends?
Yeah, okay. I'm pretty sure I have seen.
Joey, Monica, Rachel, Chandler.
Yeah, I know what this. I have. I just never really. What
Well,
was
how old are you again?
that? I'm 26.
Oh, okay. Well, you're definitely old enough to know what it is.
Like I've seen it on the TV, walking by in the living room. Then I've sat down and watched a couple episodes. I just don't really remember anything from it.
Oh, see, I think for me that was things like that were part of my life growing up. That's kind of why I'm into like the industry that I'm trying to get into. I think is
Oh,
because so I have memories of well, like one of my main memories from when a kid was watching the like shows on TV like at dinner time or whatever, right? Whatever show it may be. Um, something like Seinfeld, Friends, Simpsons, that '70s show, like a bunch of things like that is the reason why I kind of got into what I'm trying to get into is to connect with it,
yeah,
right? Because like
yeah.
a lot of people said about TV shows in like the like a lot of people say oh like TV shows, video games, that stuff's gonna rot your brain, but like it's such a
I didn't know
culture
what to talk
nowadays,
about.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's pulp culture is where life is, and that's what you reference. Like, well, apparently you don't watch the same things as I do, but I have the issues with everyone I talk to about that. I apparently talk about shows that are really like really well known, but everyone else I talk to about it doesn't know anything of what I'm talking about. It's not fair.
sorry, man. But
I guess I should have mentioned it to you before I
no,
called
it's all good.
what I wanted to talk about. But well, I'll just go off of this then. Was based off of the reunion that I was
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah.
the fact that I was actually like in my room like laughing out loud because of like so many of the iconic lines and scenes, and it was just
Mm,
they because they showed some of the scenes from um some of the like I said the iconic things that are going on and everything, and
yeah,
then there's definitely some like sad parts because as you kind of were saying like it's known worldwide, and there was definitely some emotional moments, and that's where what was I saying with like Brooklyn Nine, how you brought up that it was a quick like it was by the basically by the end of the season the two main characters like kind of in a way got together, in
yeah,
compared to Friends where it was such a will they won't they for over
yeah.
10 years that like it was such a long
Exactly.
drawn out thing.
Yeah. They really took their time delivering on that.
And it was such a well it was not only that, it was like such a strong back and forth between everything too.
Yeah.
So like it's just because um that was such a thing that like it was iconic for so many people, right?
So
um
did they get together? What happened? What was good?
uh the series, yeah, yes,
Okay.
because she was
Okay.
like Rachel, she was supposed to leave to some other city or whatever. She gets on the plane, and then cuts back to Ross's like apartment, and listening to the answering machine of like whether she got back, and then it's him like like trying to figure out, oh my god, what did she do? What she do? And then it cuts to her like knocking on the door, and it's such a like you have the
Oh,
yeah, and then the series
like,
ends with everyone leaving the main apartment to kind of move on with their lives.
man. So the premise of the show is literally just friends living in an apartment together, like.
Well, yeah, it's based off of like 25-year-old, 27, or
Okay.
mid to late 20-year-olds living in New York, and they had the basic two main apartments that lived across from each other,
Yeah.
basically, and then another set for like one other apartment or whatever that you never really saw, basically. And like the central
Yeah.
perk, it was the coffee shop, basically, where they all went to hang out and talk about stuff or before they go to work or whatever. And they and like a couple people, like one guy Joey, he's a struggling actor and is trying to like break out and trying to get into life. And so it was a definitely a lot of like um, what if scenarios of like, okay, what if I didn't get this role? How do I get, like, how do I make money?
Yeah.
And it was such, and then but looking back at it, so many people nowadays have been looking back at it of like, oh, a group of 20 somethings living in New York City, but yet they're all white. Like, so many things that wouldn't happen nowadays,
Yeah.
right? Or so many people. It's the same thing that happens with How I Met Your Mother. It's like, how the fuck can someone afford to live in such a big apartment that they do?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Homer Simpson, like he works, he makes good money to be able to like live in a decent home and support a family. Like,
yeah, exactly. He must have a damn good salary considering he fucking has
yeah.
a mortgage and 2 cars and 3 kids
Wrecks
and
the car sometimes. He wrecks the house, and he's just the next show. He's just back. Everything's back to normal.
TV magic.
Yeah. He's actually quite well off, even though they show him as such an incompetent person. Like, he's actually quite successful compared to most of us. Like, I'm still
Well,
living with my parents.
well, technically, he is the safety manager of the safety
Oh,
supervisor of the power plant. Technically,
yeah. He's like a chief operator or something.
yeah.
I don't know.
Which, well, it's so crazy. Yeah, or that's like the clip in. Have you ever watched Futurama?
Oh,
The,
yes, I have. Yeah.
yeah. So there's the episode when they're trying to watch the old TV show from the 90s or whatever, and Fry ends up by saying like, by the end of the episode, everything goes back to normal, and then it's just all on fire. But that, yeah, and that happens in sitcoms. It still is that same rinse and repeat type thing, but it's like you said, because it's a show, it's drawn out. You can develop the characters more.
Right. There's two distinct styles of way of resetting the story or the plot for these TV shows. I think Rick and Morty doesn't entirely reset. They have still they maintain continuity with some minor changes
Mm-hmm.
on the character and the world they live in by the end of the show. So unlike Family Guy and shows like Simpsons, they just do a full reset at the end of every show.
Yeah, because Simpsons has
there's a
been going on for 30 plus years.
Yeah. Man, I'm trying to remember the name of this style. Or anyways, yeah, you've probably heard of it, but it's just interesting like when I watch shows, like I'm always wondering like how they're gonna wrap it up near the end and how they're going to reset it. And when they continue with the next show, I'm kind of watching like what they decide to continue on in the plot wise or the world.
But what's funny about Simpsons is that they they even like acknowledge things have happened in the past. Like if you look at the basement or like the attic of the Simpsons house, you see
Oh,
bits and pieces of things that have happened in previous episodes,
okay.
like random items or whatever. But the kids and everything is still all the exact same age and everything like that. So I think there are different theories of that this is all in Homer's concussion's mind or something like that.
Yeah.
There's because people online like to bring up a reason for everything, right? Like
Yeah,
why they haven't aged.
Yeah. Like how Bart's been like how old he's like 12 for like over
10.
a decade now, or 10. Yeah, he's 10 for like over
Yeah.
30 years or something.
Yeah, exactly. And there's been multiple episodes of The Simpsons where it's like how they met, and it's since the original episode was in 1989, they would have met in high school in the 60s. So it showed
Yeah.
Marge with like like float like hippie clothes and whatever as a teenager, and
Yeah.
then now that it's been going on, there's been other episodes that have shown like Homer and Marge in the past, but they're in the
Oh.
'90s, and then it's like a Friends parody,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
the Family Guy crossover where Bart gets punched by Nelson, and Stewie goes like, "How long has he been treating you like this?" And Bart goes,
Oh, I remember
24 years.
that. Yeah, they're
Something.
self-aware.
Yeah,
And then was it like I think Peter pointed out he thinks everyone looks like they have hepatitis because they have like yellow skin or something.
yeah. Do you know actually the reason why they are yellow skinned? The whole reason Matt Groening decided to do that?
Oh, why is that?
Because he wanted the yellow skin to be noticeable when you're flicking through channels, like when it was cable and you would just flick before like
Oh,
guides or anything, you would just go up and
mm,
down. They wanted the yellow skin
yeah,
to kind of like pop out and kind of catch your eye so that you would stop and be intrigued
yeah,
by it.
right. Simpsons is a very saturated, colorful like show. The way colors pop out at you
Hmm.
and the backgrounds.
Yeah, the orange house, the yeah,
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 it's just fun to look at.
hmm
It's a real genuine just cartoon.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
But then going back to what you said about like Rick and Morty, that how you said that made me think of how technically Rick and Morty from whatever season we're on now are not the same Rick and Morty from the first season.
Oh, right. There's this
They're
theory that we're looking at different Rick and Mortys, and they ditched their original family. They
yeah
got thrown
yeah
in the
they buried their own selves in the backyard, and then
yeah,
Morty goes through a full like crisis about like existential crisis whether he's the right Morty in this family and
yeah. Oh
like.
man, that show is just it's fun to watch.
Have you watched the other show, Solar Opposites?
Oh yeah, yes, I have. I got really invested in their C plot with like the mini people.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that was
The whole murder by a
yeah.
cricket, quote unquote.
The drowning mouse that's getting milked. This
Yeah.
is so bizarre. Like the few times the subplot really takes over the show is like they've managed to pull it off for me. Like
Hmm.
I'm always like disinterested in the subplot, but the complete opposite happened with that. I think it was like that was like the second season, wasn't it? With the mini people living in like the ant.
No, no, that's they
That's the
only
first
have
season.
two. They only have two seasons. It was only like the second or third episode of the entire series.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
no, no.
because there's only
Man, my memory is just horrible, man.
I think there's only two seasons of Solar Opposites, two, maybe three. I'm kind of watching it now, so I don't remember if there's two or three. But yeah, I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure that started happening in like the like second or third ever episode, something like that.
yeah.
Because it goes
I
into
think
this whole like war and everything like that.
yeah, man. I don't know if that's just Justin Roiland's spin-off. Like, I don't think Dan Harmon's involved with Solar Opposites, or perhaps you would know this better than me.
I think you're correct on that.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, because that's yeah, because Dan Harmon. Yeah, because Dan Harmon is or who is it? I don't remember. One of the two are creators, co-creators of Community.
yeah. That was
Um,
Dan Harmon. Yeah,
that was Harmon. Yeah, so it was,
yeah,
Harmon is not involved in Solar Opposites. Yeah.
yeah.
Who? Yeah, because who's the does Rick's voice?
Yeah, it's Justin Roiland who does
Lo-
the two voices. I'm
But
pretty
yeah,
sure he's just talking to himself while sipping sodas to make himself burp or something.
soda? No, it's definitely not soda. He takes shots of tequila.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
he said he drinks beer some on occasion
yeah.
or something. I don't know.
But yeah, definitely been clips. But that well, anyway, all whatever. Sorry, I was gonna say that's definitely off of Rabbit Show again, but who cares? It's still into the same theme, so I don't
Yeah,
even
sorry
care.
about
No,
that.
I don't care. This is definitely more interesting than at least it's more two sided.
Yeah, thank
Um,
you.
so well, okay, well we'll go off of that then. What about the world of like South Park? Sticking into adult cartoons. Did you ever watch South Park?
I'm a little. Yeah, I watched a lot of South Park growing up. I'm a little concerned of the damage it might have done to my mind. It was looking back at some episodes. I was younger. I didn't realize how absurd and horrible some of the humor was. But I think that's the reason why I won't put out like a really messed up, dark sense of humor. because of this show. Like I used to be obsessed with Family Guy and South Park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a lot of people were, because well, they both started around the same time. Because South Park started, Family Guy started in '99. South Park started in '90. What? No, in like 2001,
I don't know,
something like
dude. Like
that.
I don't keep track of that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just such a mindless consumer of this stuff. I just I used to be happier too. I could be satisfied just watching these things. I remember just tuning in, eating bag of chips. So it'd be some of my earliest memories.
Oh yeah, exactly. Nostalgia feels for the win, and
Yeah.
that.
I'm sorry. What about South Park?
No, I was just gonna ask, see if you really watched, because I watched a little bit. That was another show that I thought of as a like adult cartoon, because
Yeah.
that pulls into conversation that people I heard not too long ago about saying that cartoons aren't for or sorry, cartoons are only for kids, which is not true,
So not true.
considering cartoons are like, especially unless you have like toddler cartoons, even like
Yeah.
younger kid
I know where you're going with
cartoons
this. Yeah.
have more adult content in them too, like Disney or anything as
Yeah.
well, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
When you like go back to watch films like SpongeBob, even like there's portions like there's certain segments, these little bits, these jokes that flew over your head as a kid, and going back as an adult now, just kind of looking at these, it just holds another layer of like appreciation for the show.
mhm.
Yeah, like they definitely knew what they're doing, and they're writing to two different audiences.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's what gets people into like anime too, right?
Yeah.
Like you watch Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon
Oh,
as a
yeah,
kid, and
yeah.
then as you
Classic.
yeah, and then when you watch it older, when you're older, you notice Hinata has big boobs and right, and
Yeah.
like or someone or Goku is completely jacked and shredded, right, for like girls or whatever, right?
He's like a horrible father. He's just
Oh my god, he's a
like,
terrible father.
this guy sucks. I would someone called child support. Child support can't even help Gohan. His father just grabs him, goes beat the shit out of him just to make him more powerful, and just in like this weird time room thing. I don't know.
Yeah, the time
Yeah,
capsule.
you're definitely right about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So exactly, it's so funny when people say stuff like that, but like, and that's one of the things that got me like really into anime, because I watch, like I said, like Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Dragon Ball. I watched all those as a kid, so I don't really kind of count that as my launch into anime. But since quarantine, in quarantine last year, like full lockdown, I
Yeah.
started watching Naruto because
Nice.
it was available on Netflix, and so I watched all that, and then got into Shippuden, and now I'm getting hardcore into anime, to the point that, as I discussed in your podcast, I want to do
Yeah.
a version of an anime clip in live action, like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
so.
Hey man, I still gotta look at that scene you're talking. I think I actually saw a bit of that scene. He was fighting Deku on the stage, the fire ice guy.
Yeah,
Right?
Deku. Yeah, Todoroki is fighting Deku. Is the scene I want to try to make. I don't know. It's probably going to be definitely a lot lower like YouTube quality than what I imagine in my head. It's probably going to be more of a kind of joke thing, I think, than what it's going to actually be. I don't think I'm going to
Very
actually have
excited to
any,
check that out, though.
but I think it will still be fun.
Like, what kind of lens do you want to use, or like?
No clue. I'm probably just going to use my camera, my regular DSLR, and just slash my phone, like maybe my phone. Yeah, or any of the people that want to film, see whatever camera they have. I honestly don't have any. I have no budget to decide any of those factors.
Like lenses are just, they have a mortgage of their own just to like you have to rent these things out. It's crazy, like how expensive they are.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you go to like pitch to try to get a budget for a short film or a show or whatever you want to do, part of the budget that you have to do to propose is renting. How much will it cost to rent the gear? Because it's pointless to.
Oh man.
To own everything.
Like what? Like you gotta get everything, like the lights, the little boom stick. What do you call it? The micro stick?
Yeah.
I don't even know what they are, but
boom mic.
Man, they're all an arm and a leg. Actually, beyond that, I think they're worth more than your organs. Yeah.
A red camera with lens is I think close to 50 grand.
Holy.
Or there's some cameras that expensive. I don't know if a red is, but probably that's reds and Aris are the actual cinema cameras. So yeah, I'm just gonna, since it's for YouTube, for my very small, very small YouTube channel, I'm definitely just using like my phone, maybe my GoPro and my actual DSLR or whatever cameras that any
Yeah.
people that can help will be willing to use.
Yeah, that'd definitely be fun though. Just gotta find the right people.
Exactly.
So yeah.
But I think that's where we're going to end it there. We'll kind of wrap it there. It's kind of like a bit of a
Yeah.
ending then. Um,
Yeah, this was fun, man. Thanks for having me on.
yeah, absolutely. So I will have your podcast linked down in the description below, and we'll probably have you again, and maybe have a couple other people next time. Maybe we'll have maybe two, like you and maybe two other people, all then try to do like a big roundabout one on my channel again and again. Anytime you want me to help you with yours, I'm definitely down. So
All right.
yeah, so that's where we're gonna end it. Thank you everyone
Yeah.
for listening. If you like anything, movies, games, TV show, anime, that type of stuff, make sure to 5 stars or rate it anywhere available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, any listening platforms, or like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. It really helps out a lot. Share it with any people that you know that like that type of stuff. And yeah, make sure to check out Jesse's podcast again, linked below as well if you want to hear his content. His is just audio only. I think that's the reason that's my guess why he didn't want to be on camera. I think he doesn't. He just gave me a reason that his camera doesn't work, but I think he's just BSing me. But
What? I am on desktop. I have to. I don't know. I have to
but
probably buy a new camera.
oh, I'm totally joking. Do you have anything else you want to throw out there before we cut it?
No, we're good. I appreciate the shout out. Yeah.
Alrighty then. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We'll talk to you there.